AITA for taking back my gift, so my ex showed up at my door with a mob? She looked me straight in the eyes and blurted out almost calmly, I think we should stay friends. My ex needs me more. For a fraction of a second, I thought I had misheard, as if the words had slipped past me without really reaching me. We were standing in the parking lot behind her apartment complex, exactly in the spot where I had imagined handing her the keys to the silver compact car I had been saving up for over weeks, gig after gig, project after project. But instead of that, I gently closed my hand over the keys, slipped them into my pocket, then looked straight at her before answering in a steady voice. Okay, I hope you will be happy. No screaming, no begging, no asking why, because deep down, I already knew the answer. She, on her part, looked relieved, as if she had just gotten rid of a weight. She did not realize that what she had just dropped was not only me, but the last shred of respect I still had for her. I turned around without a word, opened the door to my car, sat behind the wheel, and drove off without ever looking back. That kind of moment has something strangely peaceful about it, as if for the first time, you finally accept reality as it is. At that instant, I was convinced everything ended here. I was wrong. A few months later, in the middle of the night, she showed up at my door. Soaked to the bone, makeup running down her cheeks, and behind her, a small group of people filming every second of the scene. Rachel and I had been together for 3 years. I am a freelance photographer, the type who spent half his life chasing the light rather than people. She was an accountant, stable, methodical, precise. In a way, we complemented each other. I brought the chaos, she brought the structure. At least, that is what I believed. For a long time, our relationship seemed simple, almost obvious. We did not argue about money, trust, or the future. She liked my calmness. I liked her balance. But comfort has this strange ability to become invisible until a new, brighter spark appears. And this spark had a name. Travis, her ex. He reappeared out of nowhere like something out of a movie. Well-tailored suit, black BMW. A perfectly rehearsed speech about how he had finally gotten his life back on track. Very quickly, he started texting her again. He told her he missed her, that he had changed, that he had grown. At first, Rachel told me everything. She said he was just a friend, someone going through a rough patch. But I felt something changing in her voice, in the way she talked about him. She no longer spoke of him as a problem to avoid, but as a project to fix. Then the excuses started, extra hours at the office, helping out with a business plan, dinners with an old friend. Every time, I wanted to ask more questions, but I did not. Not because I was naive, but because I wanted to see how far she would go if no one held her back. It turned out her honesty had an expiration date. One evening, we were sitting in our favorite diner. Her phone lit up. A message read, "Dinner tonight. I need to talk to you." She slightly tilted the screen as if the mere fact of letting me see those words burned her. I did not say anything. I continued eating quietly. But inside, something heavy, something definitive settled in my chest. I already knew where all this was heading, and yet I had already planned something for our anniversary, a small silver car she had been dreaming of for months. She had mentioned it once, almost without thinking about it, maybe one day, when everything is more stable. I wanted to surprise her, not to impress her, just because I thought it would make her life easier. It is funny how you can build a future with someone who is already, in reality, halfway gone. The next evening, she called me. She wanted us to talk. Her voice was soft, almost rehearsed in advance. She did not cry. She did not look guilty. She simply said the sentence that started it all. Those words confirmed what I already knew. She was not leaving out of necessity. She was leaving out of curiosity. I remember feeling a strange clarity. No pain, no anger, just a cold confirmation. Everything I had silently suspected was true. She was not leaving because she had to. She was leaving because she wanted to see if the grass was greener on the other side. So I smiled. I slipped the car keys into my pocket and simply said, "Okay, I hope you will be happy." Then I left, and for the first time in months, I did not feel like I was losing anything. In the following weeks, I caught myself waiting for the sadness to hit. But it never came. I worked, edited my photos, and above all, I slept better than I had in years. Sometimes peace does not come from what you gain, but from what you finally accept to let go of. People think a broken heart looks like nights spent crying in the dark. But sometimes, It is just a man standing in an empty parking lot calmly realizing that he was never the problem. After that night, I did not fall apart. No drunk texts, no bouts of insomnia, no unnecessary detours past her apartment. I simply moved forward. I threw myself into my work. I accepted more travel assignments, landscapes, local festivals, portraits, faces that were still full of life. My photos started circulating. A gallery in Portland invited me to exhibit a series titled Stillness. The exhibition sold out faster than I had imagined. It is strange, capturing calmness in an image always seemed easier to me than understanding heartbreak. From time to time, mutual friends would bring up Rachel, always unprompted by me, always with this tone as if they were bringing me news I had been secretly waiting for. She looks happy. She is dating Travis, her ex. I would just smile and reply with what I really thought. The things that shine the brightest are often the most hollow. And I would not add anything else. For months, I did not think about her until rumors started to circulate. Travis was not who he claimed to be. Travis was not the man he claimed to be at all, and the truth did not take long to surface. Behind the impeccable suit, the black car, and the well-rehearsed speeches, there was nothing solid. Just a succession of debts, lies, and unfinished projects. His supposed businesses were actually just unpaid loans and poorly planned schemes. He owed money to investors, used credit cards under other names, and had made a habit of disappearing as soon as the situation became too real to handle. In just a few months, Rachel started filling the holes he left behind. She emptied her savings to cover his debts. She clung as much as she could to her apartment, to her job, to the illusion she had created of him. But the pressure eventually became unbearable. She lost her apartment. She had to leave her job, and some of her friends started noticing signs of an unsafe environment, with stories that did not add up. When I heard all this, I did not feel any of the things people usually imagine. No satisfaction, no revenge, just a sense of inevitability, like an equation whose result you already know. People who chase illusions always end up tripping over reality. But by that time, I already had my own reality to build. A few months later, while working on a travel report along the Oregon coast, I met Sydney. She was the editor in charge of the project. We spent hours together sorting photos, adjusting captions, and trading playful jabs over coffee that became almost a ritual. Little by little, something developed between us. Not something loud, not something obvious, but something real. She was sharp, direct, unable to stand the slightest unnecessary drama. The day we met, she looked at my old camera and said, "This object seems more alive than most people." I laughed. It had been a long time since I had laughed like that, without any ulterior motives, without trying to fix something inside myself. We started working together more and more often. She criticized my photos with formidable precision. I gently made fun of her habit of using too many adjectives in her travel articles. There was no grand declaration, no dramatic scene worthy of a movie. Just two people who had nothing to prove and who kept coming back to each other day after day without playing a part. And somewhere between the drives along the coast, the nights spent editing images, and the shared silences, I realized something. I did not miss Rachel. I missed the idea I had of her. The version I had built at a time when I thought love was patience rather than clarity. Then one evening, my phone buzzed. A number I had not seen in months. "Mason, I know I messed everything up. Travis left. He lied to me about everything. I lost everything. But I know you still care about me. Please, can we talk? You still love me, right?" I stared at the message for a long time. I was neither angry nor nostalgic, just tired. So, I typed calmly, "I loved you, but the person I loved no longer exists." I sent the message, blocked the number, and put my phone down. No hesitation, no regrets, because sometimes turning the page does not require a long discussion, but simply understanding that you owe nothing to someone who chose chaos. About 3 months later, everything turned upside down once again. It was a quiet night. Sydney had fallen asleep on the couch, an open book on her chest. I was editing photos when a loud knock made the front door shake. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a late delivery, or a slightly too loud neighbor. Then the screaming started. "Mason, open this door, you coward." I froze. That broken, unstable, all too familiar voice. "Rachel." When I opened the door, The scene in front of me did not seem real. She was there, soaked, eyes wide, makeup running down her face, and behind her, 3 people were holding their phones, filming every second. You could hear the little sounds of the cameras. Someone whispered, "Keep filming." Rachel pointed a trembling finger at me. "You abandoned me. You destroyed my life. All of this is your fault." For a moment, I just looked at her, not in shock, but with a kind of calm disbelief at how far she had fallen. This woman who once spent hours choosing the perfect colors for the walls of her apartment was now standing before me, screaming like a stranger. I did not raise my voice. I simply asked, "What are you doing here, Rachel?" She took a step toward me. Her eyes were bright but empty. "You think you are better than me now, posting your perfect little photos while I am suffering? You abandoned me, Mason. You broke me." Behind her, her friends started shouting too, trying to provoke me, their phones capturing every angle. You did not have to be a genius to understand. This was not a visit. It was a setup, a desperate attempt to make me look like the villain in a story she intended to sell online. Sydney appeared behind me, as calm as always. "I am calling the police." Rachel burst out laughing. A hollow, almost hysterical laugh. "Go ahead. Let everyone see what kind of man he really is." But I did not move. I stayed there, hands in my pockets, looking at her with that calmness that makes unstable people even more furious. When I finally spoke, my voice was flat, almost soft. "But you were not abandoned, Rachel. You abandoned yourself the moment you chose lies over the truth." For a fraction of a second, my words reached her. I saw it in her eyes. Then her mask slipped back on, and she started screaming again, getting aggressive and pushing against me while her friends kept filming. Sydney, on her end, kept the line open until the police arrived. When they got there, I stepped aside and showed them the footage from my home security cameras. Everything was clear. Her forcing her way, screaming, trying to get in. The officers looked at the scene, then at her, then at me. One of them sighed like someone who had seen this kind of chaos dozens of times before. "Ma'am, you need to leave immediately. If you come back, it will be considered trespassing." Rachel's lip trembled. He destroyed me. You do not understand." But this time, no one followed her. Even her own friends started lowering their phones. The police escorted them off the property. As she was being led away, Rachel turned around one last time. Her eyes burned with a mix of rage and despair. "You are going to regret this, Mason. You are going to regret not saving me." I did not move. I did not say anything. I waited until the lights of the police car disappeared down the street. After that night, everything finally settled down. As if the last echo of the chaos had dissipated with the sound of the rain against the door, making way for something deeper, more stable, almost silent. A few weeks later, Sydney and I decided to leave, not to run away, but to breathe differently. We gathered what we had without a grand plan, without unnecessary attachments, and we left the city behind us. Heading to a small coastal town in Oregon, nestled between fog-covered cliffs and eternally green hills. A place where time seemed to slow down, a place where no one knew our past. There, I opened a small photo studio. Nothing spectacular, no glowing sign, no flashy decorations. Just white walls, natural light gently pouring in through the windows, and the salty smell of the ocean slipping inside when they were ajar. I no longer wanted to chase trends. No more fake smiles for social networks, just landscapes, sincere portraits, and that tranquility I had forgotten. Sydney worked as a freelance travel editor. She wrote about hidden trails, local artists, coastal storms, things most people no longer take the time to see. Sometimes, she would sit by the window, her laptop resting on her knees, her hair still messy from the wind. Meanwhile, I developed photos in the back room, surrounded by the smell of chemicals and the silence. We almost never talked about the past. We did not need to, because peace needs no explanation. Months went by. The studio brought in enough to pay the bills, and oddly enough, that was enough for me. For the first time, I was not chasing after more. I simply lived with what I had. I deleted most of my social media. Not out of anger, just out of disinterest. When you have lived in someone else's chaos, silence becomes the most beautiful thing in the world. One morning in early spring, I was tidying a drawer in my desk when my hand hit something cold. A key, a single one still attached to its original keychain. The The same one I had planned to give to Rachel that night, when I still thought she was part of my future. I turned it over in my fingers. The metal caught the light like a memory frozen between what had been and what had never really existed. Sydney walked in right at that moment, 2 cups of coffee in hand. "Looks like you just found a buried treasure," she said with an amused smile. I managed to smile. "In a way, yes." I paused, then added softly, "I bought this for someone who did not understand what love was. And now, I think it might finally start a new story with someone who actually does." She looked at me for a long time without speaking. Then she placed the cups on the table, her eyes softening. "Then I will make sure you never regret giving it." And I believed her, not because she was promising, but because, unlike others, she did not need to promise. That evening, we took the car. We drove along Highway 101. The ocean stretched to our right, immense, almost infinite. The sun was slowly setting, tinging the horizon with golden and burning shades. For a while, we did not say anything. The radio played softly. The waves crashed against the rocks below. Then Sydney turned her head toward me. "Do you still think about her sometimes?" I took a few seconds. I thought about Rachel, her voice, her chaos, the version of myself that tried to fix something that was not mine to fix. Then I shook my head. "Not really. I mostly think about the person I was when I loved her, and how much I have changed since then." Sydney smiled. She reached out her hand and intertwined her fingers with mine. The road continued to wind ahead of us, and for the first time in a long time, the future was clear. Rachel disappeared after that incident, as if she had evaporated. Rumors circulated, of course, unpaid debts, mental health issues, another relationship that ended badly. Then her social media disappeared overnight. Some people felt sorry for her. Me, I did not hate her, but I did not pity her either. I just accepted it. One evening, as we were closing the studio, I told Sydney, "Letting go does not mean you are weak. Sometimes, it is the only way to keep your dignity." She looked straight at me, and I added, almost like a conclusion I had never formulated before, "Healing is not about getting revenge or forgetting. It is simply about finding peace." Comment: This story really made me pause and reflect. I've learned that protecting your peace is one of the most important things you can do. Holding on to your self-respect should never be up for negotiation. Setting clear boundaries is actually an act of kindness toward yourself. True healing begins the moment you stop carrying someone else's chaos. You deserve relationships that bring calm rather than constant storms. Taking responsibility for your own happiness is incredibly freeing. Be gentle with yourself as you grow and move forward. Choosing peace isn't giving up. It's choosing a better life for yourself. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.